This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome, one and all. Today I thought we would take some time and talk about what goes on at symposiums. Maybe get some people interested and a few more to sign up going to Portland. Let's see, the last I knew, I think we're up to 9 going. Rick, do you know any more information?
Sue and Ken Kissel just let me know too that they have signed up and they're going for sure.
Yep, that was the last 2 I knew of.
Okay.
So,
And didn't you, Steve? Do you have Steve Friedman?
Yeah, Steve Friedman's going. I don't know if you have that information.
That's 10.
Good.
All right. And Dave Henderson?
Let me think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's 9 by mine. 10. Yeah. I'll be darned. We're doing quite well.
We can have a basketball game.
Yeah, that works.
If for some reason anyone else should hear of anyone else that's signing up to go, let me know and contact AAW and increase the number. Right now we have discount codes for 11 people. So if anyone else is going, I'm going to have to call her and increase that number.
Excellent. So
don't worry too much about that, Rick. It's if you want to make the phone call, that makes you feel better. But the deal is 5 and above, so you could actually probably have 25 people go at the discount.
Yeah,
but you're right on the code. Your code's only going to accept up to some, whatever number.
Yeah, it's up to 11, and she said it wasn't a problem if we needed to. You should just let her know.
Right.
Last year we had 9 people from our club. Am I correct on that?
6, 7. Yes. We did.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You're talking about to the regional last year?
Yeah, to Portland.
Yeah.
The Oregon.
Albany.
Yeah, Eugene. Right.
It wasn't in Portland last year.
Right. So
Dave, you've told me, but you want to tell everybody else what your role is in the AAW symposium in Portland this year?
Well, I'm on the symposium planning committee, so I'm part of what you're going to see if you go. I would like to meet with all of the people that have signed up, and especially those that were in Albany, Oregon last year, because the national one's going to be significantly different. I would like to understand when all of you that are going intend to be there, when you intend to go and when you intend to leave. That'll help me a little bit formulate something for you guys, because I've got a presentation ready to meet with, well, it's not quite ready because I can't do it yet, but it's ready to sit down with the group that is going and help them understand to get their best out of the symposium. It is real easy for you to go to your first national symposium and miss half of it. And you can tell the newbies at a symposium because they're walking around totally baffled and totally confused. And I'd like to help alleviate some of that with all of you guys. And so sometime, probably in early February, I'd like to come over and either in somebody's shop or garage or living room, or maybe we get YEI and use the, the middle room or something over there and give you a little presentation on how to better enjoy the place.
Hey,
Would
Rick,
the monthly meeting be a good time to do it, Dave?
I'll have to think about that. That's kind of twofold, because that would be that would also be a chance to maybe get more people interested. People that haven't already signed up. I guess I'll have to think about it. It's okay with me.
the other thing, Rick, maybe is have Zim make one of his Tuesday demos.
Do that. You could do that.
What
He's
about
desperate.
doing it at Dean Humphreys doing the Super Bowl Saturday again? What about during that event?
I think that might be a little too far out for some people. I think that we might be better having it at the monthly meeting, or if we want to do it at a Tuesday demo, something that's a little closer in. We could use my garage, Dave. It wouldn't be a problem if you want to do that. My shop is open to you.
I would probably like to have either a TV set that everybody could see, or a screen we could project on, or something. Yeah. And as long as that's got an HDMI input, we would be good.
Yeah, it does.
Well, that kind of tells me it'd be best to do that at YEI, because we've got the equipment there. We could do it during a monthly meeting time, but keep in mind the February meeting is an IRD with Emiliano Acheval. So it would have to be something. Say again?
This wouldn't have to be in February. I just brought that up. I'm not ready for January because there's going to be some things that I'll probably learn at the end of January. I'm going up to Portland on the 20th, and well, I have a presentation up there on the 20th, so I'll be up there on the 19th, and I will probably come away. I'll be with a board member or two and the executive director, so I'll probably learn some things there that I don't know yet.
When you get back from that day, would you get in touch with me and we'll arrange a time and place?
10-4, that works fine. And
Yeah,
like
that
I
puts
said,
us-
we can do it either way, just for the people that are registered to go and anybody that's interested. It might bore the folks in a regular meeting, or you might turn away some people if they're not interested at all in going.
The Super Bowl is not a bad idea, like Mark said, because Super Bowl's February 11th.
Well, but there you got a group of people that are going there to watch football, not to pay any attention
No.
to.
This is a Saturday before at Dean's place.
Okay. Well, whatever you guys think, I'm probably after January, I'll be open for a month or two.
Well, you've got a few months here to plan it. And I was thinking, well, the May meeting is the weekend before the AAW conference, but that is another IRD. So we'd want to have it in March or April would be the best timing. So keep that in your back pocket and figure out the better date for you.
Sounds good here. How many of you are registered? 5?
Kathy, yeah.
Spence is registered as well.
Pardon me, Bruce?
Spence is also registered.
Are you guys staying in the Airbnb type again, or are you going to stay at the hotel?
No, I looked at Airbnb options and there wasn't anything available that came in anywhere close to what we had last time. So we're at what's the name of that place, Kathy?
The inn at Convention Center. And there's at least 8 or 10 of us going right now that are staying there.
Okay, I believe, from memory, I believe that's within the block.
Yes,
It's
it's
close,
just
it's
a,
close.
it's
Yeah,
a
it's a
half a
block
block
away.
to the east.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not
The,
very far.
Pardon me?
It is not very far. It's more walk around a corner, walk a block, and you're at the conference center, convention center. But
Yeah.
like I say, there's about 10 to 12 at the moment from our club that I know of that are attending.
What's the name of that place?
The inn at the convention center.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
can look it up and send it out if need be, or you can include that information later. I know they still have reservations available because the Kissels made reservations a couple days ago.
It ended up
The-
being about $300 cheaper per room
Mhm.
for the length of the convention to stay there rather than the one that was right across the street from the convention center.
Yeah, the home hotel or the guest, whatever you call it, hotel is always more expensive. Usually a better hotel, but the cost is sometimes, I think the cost there is somewhere in the 150 a night bracket.
Okay,
I
I'm
think it
looking
is,
up.
but I think it's that plus taxes.
Yeah, plus taxes. I'm looking it up here. It's costing us around 600 for arriving a day early until we leave on Sunday for, the inn at the convention center is what it's called. And I can give you the street name. It's
No,
on.
that's okay. I've got it.
Okay, yeah,
Uh,
that's what it is. But it's on Holiday Street and it's, like I say, around 600 for the week.
There will be, and then you're gonna arrive on Wednesday? Or you have a hotel on Wednesday night?
Yeah,
Right.
Yes,
Wednesday till
Um,
Sunday.
I will talk to you about that, and that was part of what I wanted to gain today, is to find out if you guys who were staying in the house was gonna be there on Wednesday, because there's some things I might be able to help you get, so you can get into the place on Wednesday and actually be able to move around there a little bit at the convention center.
that'd be good. That's what we did last time when we went to the one in Oregon. So,
Dave, we arrive at 5:35 in Portland on Wednesday, and we're departing Sunday at 4:25.
Okay.
Okay, so Wednesday you won't be there. You're not gonna be there early enough.
No, it won't be till
Wednesday.
afternoon.
yeah, probably be what, 6 o'clock-ish by the time we get to the hotel area.
Yeah. The good thing about where you're staying, you're within a few steps of the light rail, and if you wanted to go downtown for anything, it's easy.
And we're taking the light rail from the airport to there as well.
Right. Their transportation system in the whole city is fairly well designed for the size of the city. And the light rail and a bus will get you just about anywhere.
Is there anybody here who hasn't been to a symposium?
Chuck, we're gonna work on you.
We'll get you
Look forward
introduced.
to a good time.
We don't want you walking around Portland with like a deer with the lights in their eyes, so. We'll
Jay,
get
have
you
you been to
schooled up.
have you been to symposium?
Nope.
Pardon?
Okay, so Jay hasn't been either.
Well, maybe you two can just kind of hang together and then you can help each other. No,
Yeah, I
this
know
is-
Steve Freeman hasn't gone either. He's a newbie.
Well, and I don't think the
Yeah.
Kissels have either.
Mhm.
Well, and considering the Albany, Oregon symposium, I don't consider that the same. So my point being, there's a lot more going on at a national one. And if you don't understand it and kind of plan your travel, and by travel, I mean inside the symposium, if you don't plan that, think about it and decide what you want to do, then and then basically you're going to get home with your nice little colored handbook and say, oh damn, I missed this, oh geez, I should have done that. And that's why I want to spend some time with you, so at least if you go home and you've missed something, you missed it on purpose. And it is you can go wall to wall early in the morning till well into the evening. And if you don't know some of these things, you will miss them. And if you don't plan for them and get your sleep, you will rather go back to the hotel and take a snooze instead of attending things. And again, this year, they're going to record and broadcast and record from some of the meeting rooms. So, and we don't know and won't know for a while which ones will be recorded and which ones you'll be able to watch after the fact. But when that is published and when you find that out, then that becomes part of your planning, because as those of you know that have been to a symposium, a national one especially, you can't take everything in. It's just not humanly possible. And the thought process on that, on the IRD type thing, or some people being able to just watch remotely, the thought process on that is, and it will help your planning when you sit down, when the rotations are established and published, and the rooms are identified that will be recorded, then you can plan those two together. So you can say, okay, I want to see John Doe, but he's going to be recorded. I'll watch him at home next week or next month, and I'll skip him at the symposium because he's in conflict with Sally Smith that I want to see. So it's going to be, what I'm going to suggest is a method for everybody to kind of sit down and plan their own schedule and plan what they want to do, plan what they can do, because again, there's going to be some sacrifices. And it'll help you better enjoy the whole process.
Dave, is the access to the videos afterward part of going to
Part
the
of your
symposium?
registration. Part of your registration.
Okay.
Now you can, you might mention this in your club meetings or your conversations there. Again, anything that I say right now is based on last year. If I do know something about this year, then I wouldn't mislead. But everything that I would show at this time would be based on last year. If I wait another maybe the middle of February or so, we'll learn some more this month, and we may learn some more next month. And that's still ahead of when you really need to start your planning. As long as you understand the fact you're going to be busy. And I don't mean that as a threat. If you want to go and kick back at the motel and go take a swim or two in the middle of the day and kick your feet back and whatever, that's fine. But what I'd like to do is at least show you how to get the biggest bang for your money. And it's real easy to walk away and not do that. I don't know how many times I've come home, opened up the manual that I carried around the whole week and went, oh crap, I wish I'd have known this, or I wish I'd have known that. So I want to help try to alleviate that with the paw gang.
Dave, how many symposiums have you attended?
Oh, half a dozen.
Nationals?
Oh yeah, the regional ones, you could probably add that many more. They're all similar or not all, but some of them are similar in length, but there's no comparison in content. And, you know, you might go to Portland regional and have a good time and be pretty busy and so on. But there just aren't the evening events, the events going on at noon, just a lot more stuff. And of course, if you have more tools to drool over, that wipes out a lot of time too.
Dave, I'm assuming that when we register and check in, we'll get a printed copy of the program. Do you know if that's going to be available online ahead of time so we can do that pre-scheduling for ourselves?
I can say yes, but I can't say when.
Okay.
Because that always depends on the demonstrators, and I need to be careful with this, but the more professional they get, the more they drag their feet. If you know what I mean. So
that's because they have more self-importance at that point.
Yes, and they have more offers. They may want to go do something else. And a lot of these people, especially the ones from overseas, they're juggling, I guess you'd say, between, you know, making a trip from, I need to be careful which country I pick on, but making a over the pond trip from XYZ company or country and deciding whether to come right straight to the AAW and go home afterwards, or whether to make it a vacation trip, or whether to include going to Prescott and doing a in-person demonstration and picking up another few $100s. So they're juggling their own schedule, and and we're trying to put them on our schedule. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that make it difficult. You'd think that we could just say right now, this is what it's going to be. It's 6 months away, and here's all the information you need to get there. But I can tell you it ain't so.
But Dave, I think you said that it will list on the schedule that they will be recorded or not at that time, so we can make decisions once we get there. Is that correct?
You should be able to make those decisions before you go.
But it will tell who is being recorded before that
Oh,
time.
absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
And looking at the demonstrators online last night, several of them have several topics that they're going to be covering. Some may be recorded and some not.
That's correct. That's
okay.
correct. So if you looked at, I was going to have that up so we could speak directly from that today.
For example, Kirk DeHeer presented here last year for the club, and he has 3 topics, for example.
Okay,
so,
let's talk about those topics. Bring them up.
Okay, from the top of my head, one is on checks and cuts. Another one is on a bowl,
threading.
I believe. Yeah, threading, and then
probably calabash.
No, he's not doing calabash. Two other people are. I can't remember, but I think it is a bowl or a container.
Okay, so let's say that one of your members or one of you people just absolutely have to see Kirk when he's there. So you would attend one of his in-person ones that is not going to be recorded. And then look at the recorded one, which might not be your favorite one to see, or it might be your favorite one might be the one that he's recording. So you might have to say, well, I know how to thread, but I'll go watch him do the threading demo because that's the only one of his that I can see. And then I'll watch his other two when I get home. So that's just going to be decision-making on your part.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason I wanted to have the get-together over there at some time before the symposium, so you are aware of that and so that you understand the process best and you're not there trying to figure it out. You should be able to do everything before you go. And another thing, before I forget it, I need to speak, Kathy. I need to interrupt you because otherwise I'll forget this. There will
You want me to forget?
There will be an application that you will be able to load onto your phone before you leave home. And again, I don't know when, and I don't know the exact application that they're going to use. But you'll be able to load, and the one that they used last year, you could bring up the entire rotation schedule, basically everything that comes out in the guidebook. And the guidebook for the National Symposium is probably anyway, I will have one with me when I come over there, but it's probably 3/8 of an inch thick and full living color, most of it. So
Is the app searchable?
I don't know. And actually, if I spoke to that about last year's, next year's could be different. They are, the people in charge of that are currently looking for, or comparing, let's put it that way, other ones that are available and comparing it to the one we used last year. And I didn't really get a chance to use it because I was working or playing, however you want to look at it, and I didn't really attend any of the demonstrations.
Can I ask my question now? Since you're on the
You're
committee.
on. I'm sorry. I will try to
No, you're
zip my
fine.
lip.
No, you're fine. I have a good memory so far. So my question is this: when we went to Oregon, because I go as a spouse, I'm going at a lower price, and they happen to have an extra book for me, so they gave me one. But if we're paying a spouse rate, we're still attending. Will they have books for us? Because I like to have my own book to write in. So since you're on the committee, would you put that out, that it's nice for if a spouse is attending to also have the book?
Is this a power move, Kathy?
No, it's a reality move.
Okay. In reality, you can
In
have
reality,
one, yes.
I like my own.
The reality is she's going to go to some and I'm going to go to some others. We both want to have a book in hand.
I understand that, Ken, and if you remind me, or Rick, if you remind me, and don't try to double take me, okay? But if you remind me, I'll get you at least one to take back to the club.
Because we'll have two spouses attending.
Well, then get the other spouse to come with you.
Well, that's not necessarily true either. We have our own choices of where we want to go, but in our
No. I mean, just come to see me to get the book.
Oh, okay. Tackle you. Okay,
No, don't argue with them at registration.
Oh.
just come and talk to my wife or me.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
They usually print, let's put it this way, last year, I helped box up lots of them to go back to Minnesota after the symposium, so there were plenty. So volume of those is not an issue.
Mhm.
Dave, I have a question.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So regarding the recorded sessions at the symposium, um, for those of us that can't go, will they be available after the symposium to watch online for people that can attend the symposium? And also the second part of the question is, would there be a charge for it?
Yes, I can answer the second part for sure. And I don't remember what it was last year. It was somewhere around $100, I think. I'm thinking it was like maybe 20 last year. I'll make a note and get that information for you. Actually, the cost of it, I don't know, and I may not know by then.
Last year, I think the cost was something like $100 and some bucks. The year before, it was $22, because that's when we had trouble with COVID. And they had a special deal, but it was higher last year. I did buy it.
Bruce, stop for a second. Last year was the first year they did what we're talking about. What
No.
you're talking about is a special one that they put on, and yes, they did have trouble with it. That's all it was. It was not an in-person
Correct.
symposium. It was a what's the magic word for
Virtual symposium.
virtual? What you're confusing together is the virtual one from a couple of years ago versus last year's virtual portion of the regular symposium.
Right.
And what Mark is asking about is the virtual portion of the regular symposium. And yes, there is a charge, and it will be about it will be fewer demonstrations than the total there. So in other words, it's less than 50%. Don't say, oh, I'm getting the Phoenix Club last year advertised that they could pay the whatever it was, the $100 and some, and they could see the whole symposium, and that's not true.
Correct. And Mark, it was available for tuning in and doing what you wanted. I don't remember if it was 60 or 90 days, but it was quite a good length of time.
Yeah, and that hasn't been settled yet because last year it was up for a long time, for a couple, maybe 3 months. I doubt that will happen this year. The more professional demonstrators, I guess, that's in competition with their own personal IRDs. So they are less happy to let that run a long time. So some of them are putting restrictions. For instance, you may see something like, I hate to pick on Kirk, but he's the only one I can think of right now. You may see in your registration or in your purchasing of the remote portion only, you may see where you will also be able to view after the fact, but you'll only be able to view, let's say, Kirk for 30 days and Sally Smith for 90. So it's last year it was not everybody the same. I'm sure we're trying to do away with it this year because I had some conversation with a couple of the other members, and it's basically a pain in the butt. And you
It
have to
seems
remember
it seems to me too that the email for that on last year's came close to the time of the symposium or shortly after, if you were not able to attend. It wasn't put out there early on because they wanted attendees. They didn't want virtual attendees. So I remember the email coming, like I say, either that week or shortly after for others.
Yeah, and some of that was not resolved right up until the symposium. The virtual last year, was the planning started actually, the planning agreement of that started very close to the symposium. We have a little bit of a head start on it this year, so we're a few months ahead of last year, so it should be a little bit more organized than it was. That there were a lot of issues there were a lot of issues period last year, because there were issues after we started. There were a bunch of people running around like crazy people with their heads cut off, and you guys can all relate to this. If you're Zooming your meeting out to people and it's not working, I know Ken and Kathy, you're not sitting back with your feet propped up on the table enjoying it. You're running around like a couple of crazy people trying to get it to work. And we were trying to broadcast last year all over the world. So I hope you can relate.
I can definitely relate. I've got a question for you, Dave, a little off the topic here a little bit. I'm looking at the email they sent out with the list of demonstrators, and I'm just curious. I'll just pick the very first one listed here is a guy from Israel. So is he going to be an IRD at the symposium, or is he going to be live at the symposium? So I guess my question really is, are all of these demonstrators going to be live and broadcasting out as IRDs, or are we going to be sitting in a room at a screen watching an IRD of these people?
No, they are all live. They
Good,
will all be
thank you.
there. They will all be there. And that's part of what's the date on that on your email?
It was about 2 days ago. It wasn't very long. Okay, I have the whole list of them here. I only knew a few of them. But Kurt Herzog, Kalia Cliven. I've heard of a few of them. Dave Landers, Janice Levi.
Get me the date on that, Kathy. I'm trying to find that on.
Well, I'm on the AAW website under demonstrators. They're all listed there. The email was about 2 days ago.
January 9th.
Thank you.
Yeah, 2 days ago.
And I'd suggest that for any of you who are going to a symposium for the first time, or maybe you're not familiar with the people, get online and look at them. Kathy, I think without knowing for sure, it's probably Eli Azavera is the guy from Israel. He is really good, and I would definitely give him a look if you have a place in your schedule. But it seems like as time has gone by, fewer and fewer people are tuned into wood turning through AAW, and a lot of the newbies are just kind of doing things through YouTube as an alternative, so they aren't as familiar as with the people who offer through AAW. So definitely look at all of them and see who you like. There are some real hidden gems in there, and there are some people who are getting their first opportunity. Take a look at the schedule beforehand to see what might be online for the people who are going to be demoing.
And what Dick is saying, the schedule is not going to be out for a while. But what Dick is saying is you've got the names of the people now. So So go look at, and I think, didn't they list the websites with them, their individual's website?
No, not on
no.
this particular email, but I would assume the fact that they're at this level, every one of them probably has a website
Oh,
with their own
absolutely.
YouTube videos.
And go, I don't know that you need to look at the videos as much as you need to look at their galleries on their website and just get an idea of what they do. You know, you may not want to sit for an hour and a half and watch somebody, you know, do whatever. But that's a good point, Dick. So you're, and I think when we get together, you'll get enough action items of your own to do before you go. So you can look at this and look at that and check out this Turner and check out that Turner, and it'll just make your symposium a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great suggestion. There is not an active link from each demonstrator, so it's just a matter of searching for each one of them. So appreciate that.
Some place that exists. So if it isn't posted somewhere, give me a buzz and I'll get something together for you.
Maybe we should focus on what the experiences of people that have been to the symposium has been and what we've learned. I think that's directed. Is that correct, Bruce?
Correct. That was one of the things I wanted to cover.
And then when Dave, when you get more of your stuff in February, we could have this meeting again and really nail some things down. For instance, there's a group of us going from here. Who's going to carpool? How are you going to get to the airport? Those type of things we'll be able to nail down as well.
Well, I can answer some of that for you. You have a local train, a local trolley, whatever you want to call it, that comes right to the symposium. So right to the center. And I will look up your hotel and see if the tracks go by there. But it's an easy walk, probably, it sounds like. Yeah, and your access from the airport should be by rail. If you want to go shopping, it would be by rail. Anything you want to do, you should not need a car.
No, we're not getting a car. We're talking about getting from Prescott down to Phoenix Airport and those types.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had carpooled last year, and I
I'm
think
sorry.
no, that's okay. I think this year again, Spence and Bruce, myself, and Jerry are going to take a car down, but some other people might want to put a group of people together so that they don't have to go down separately.
Yeah, and it's not so much the drive down as it is paying for your parking while you're there.
Yeah, we kind of split that up last year.
Another point, and I'm going to know more about this in a while. Sue and I fly out of either Flagstaff, where we've always parked our car free for a week or whatever, or out of Phoenix, where we pay like $12-15 a day to park the car. So if you're going for 4 or 5 days or a week, there's a significant difference. And what I want to try when we go up to Portland this month, what I want to try is to park somewhere on the Phoenix light rail route and take the light rail to the airport. And I want to try that as opposed to leaving our car at the parking lot at the airport for whatever it is, $75 or more.
Dave, when you get a chance, take a look at a place called Park and Fly. It's on the northeast corner of the airport. It is a 3-4 story high parking structure. You can park on top of it for a very reasonable fee, or you can park down inside for a little bit more per day. And it is a very nice option. They have very good shuttle service to and from the airport. That's become my parking location of choice in the last few years.
Thanks, Bruce, and I've got a note, and I will look into that. That's what I used to do all the time when I was working. I had a favorite place right there on Washington, and I'd go park there, and they'd shuttle me to the airport. So all I know is airport parking is expensive. It's convenient, but it's expensive.
That's why if you put
Dave?
groups together, you can split the cost.
Dave, I wonder if you can give us just kind of a ballpark idea of how is the symposium structured in terms of, we start the day with, is there a general meeting? Or do we just start with a specific demonstration? And do they give us lunchtime, or does everything run together? Well, how is it structured at the AEW level?
I'm going to ask you to hold on for a second because I'm going to grab last year's. But typically, the demonstrations start at 8 o'clock in the morning. The place opens up about an hour early. So you can come and sit in the front row and mark your spot and all that good stuff. But the demonstrations start at 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And part of what I was going to explain and I'll try to explain it right now so you understand it. I'll explain it, you probably won't understand it. The symposium basically runs on rotations, which means demonstration times. So the first rotation is 8 till 9:30. All the demonstrations times are an hour and a half. And so the first one goes from 8 till 9:30. Then there is a 1 hour break. And that's when the guys with their spouses not there make a mad beeline for the vendor area and spend all their money. So you have an hour between every rotation. So you've got a choice. When you get out of one at 9:30, you can either go to the next one and sit in the front row until it starts at, well, whatever that would be, 11.
And
Pardon?
I was going to say, is it 10:30 or is it 11:30?
8
8 to
Hold on a
9:30 and then 10:30 to noon.
This is way too much challenge for my brain. Let me grab a book.
Well, the key is to know that there is time between sessions. You don't have to race from one session to the next one you want to get to. And I assume it's a big enough convention center that racing would not be a good option because there might be a long distance between two adjacent demos. So knowing there's this time period is helpful.
I didn't really come prepared to show you this, but I'll have this. I'll have a book or two when I come over there. And it'll show what I'm talking about when I say rotations. And those are the little colored squares. And this is Friday. So it shows on Friday where in this room on Friday, and it shows you who you will see and what their demonstration is about. And they're all color coded so that there's a little color coding up in the corner of the book that shows, that gives you an idea. And here are the topics. Is it beginner friendly? The reddish purple stands for bowls and platters. Light blue stands for boxes. Embellishing is in a green. So everything's color coded in the book, and it will be on your phone application also. So if you just want to buzz down the page and say, I want to learn how to do threading. Last year, I wanted to learn how to spin metal, and there was a metal spinner there. So the only ones I looked at, if I just pulled the page back and looked at it, the only ones I needed to look at were the ones that were in dark blue. So, and that's what I'm saying. If you get a little bit of this ahead of time and you can be prepared for it, you can pick the book up and it's very easy to navigate and get you in where you want to be. And one of the things up here is like mini lathe friendly. In other words, if you go to those and it will assure you that you can do that on your mini lathe, and you're not going to get to a demonstration and have a guy chuck up a 12-inch diameter or 18-inch diameter log and turn it. So there's just little hints like that through the process of the book that you don't really get until you get home.
Dave, a slightly different question. Do you know, I assume that a demonstrator will probably demonstrate more than once during the symposium. But do
Yeah.
you know if the demonstration would be the same demonstration, or do they rotate and do different demonstrations for their other sessions?
Rarely will a demonstrator repeat, but some of them that are real popular do. So until the schedule comes out, I couldn't answer that for this year. But typically, you know, if you look in that list, they show that each demonstrator, first of all, let's break the demonstrators down. There's the pros, the really professional people. And then I'll call them the semi-pros. Don't repeat that anywhere, but there's the semi-pros that are from close by. They may have only done a couple of professional demonstrations. They may have only done regional type stuff, but those people are, and there's also people that are invited to demonstrate that essentially haven't done a lot of demonstration before because they have been chosen as up and comers, and AAW, let's say Bruce showed his piece somewhere and there was a person at AAW who was really impressed with it. Then we may give him a chance to show off his skills. And he may trading. We may give him 3 slots to demonstrate in, but not expect him as a newbie to be able to produce 3 different things. So your question is a little bit loaded. I'll say a little bit of everything. There may be a person that does one demonstration multiple times. There may be several people that do one demonstration twice and another demonstration, a different topic on a third time. We may even ask a particular demonstrator to do a demonstration that he planned to do once. We may ask him to do it twice, once for the virtual world and once for the in attendance world. They both be there. They'd both be in the same room. They'd both be doing the same thing. But typically, each professional demonstrator is going to do 3 different things. And they're required. Go ahead.
I was at a symposium, I think it was Hartford, where they also did a continuation because the demonstrator had a fairly long and complicated routine that he was describing. And so the first part of the routine he did on Saturday evening, and the second part of the routine he did on Sunday morning, and they dovetailed into each other. So that's also a possibility you might get.
Yeah, Dick, I understand that, and yes, it's been done frequently in the past. I do not believe we will be doing that this year.
Yeah, this was a special guy, and
yeah, and basically what they do now is, let's say the demonstration is going to be a hollow form, and they're going to embellish the outside of it. Then what they would do is the guys would come with blanks, and they would also come with their a series of 2 or 3 hollow forms already done, and then they would show a little bit of turning, very little. Then they would show their completed. They would put it aside and bring up their current hollow form that's completed, and then they would take one that's completed and embellish it. So they're pretty strict on an 1.5-hour demonstration, and that's in their contract, I believe. They also like to maintain some space between demonstrations or rotations. They like to maintain some space, so you can go up and BS with the turner after he's done. And then they have some time to clear out the room, get it ready for the next demo. And the next demonstrator can come in a few minutes early and get prepared, because they're pretty adamant on going from 8 till 9:30, period. And sometimes there were a couple last year that got finished 15 minutes early, and they just hung around and answered questions and talked to the group and so on. And that's another part of your planning. If you understand that there is a 1-hour break between each demonstrator, then you can say, okay, how do I want to spend that hour? Well, Ken, you're going to say, well, I'm going to catch up with Kathy and we're going to go have lunch. Bruce is going to say, man, I'm hot-footing it out of here. I'm headed right straight to the vendor area because I need to buy some new tools. And Rick may say, I'm going to hang out and talk to this guy. I really enjoyed the presentation, and I want to know how he did blah, blah, blah. And the demonstrators were pretty, it's just like your club meeting when you have Kirk DeHeer there. He's going to hang out after the meeting and answer your questions and so on. So those are all part of your planning process. And believe me, your very best plans will go awry. Because you can say, man, I gotta hot-foot it over to Carter because I want to buy a new 1/2-inch bowl gouge. And then you go to a demonstration, and the person's so interesting that you're going to hang around afterwards and go pick up all of his things and touchy feel and lift and look and play around with what he's done. and you lose track of the fact now you don't have time to go get that turning tool that you needed. So that's going to be the name of the game for you. And the more you plan, the less you allow that to happen.
Chuck, I'm going to put you on the spot. Since you haven't attended a symposium before, do you have any specific questions that rise that we could try to answer for you here at this venue?
I don't know if it's so much a question, but I would look to people like you and Rick and Spence and Bruce, people who I think are pretty familiar with my skills and my interests to help advise where they think I would receive the most benefit. I think that would be most helpful. And also, hey, this is a tool you need to buy because I don't have enough yet. But anyway, I don't know if that's so much of a question as more like a request, because I respect all of you and your knowledge and skills. I'd like to have that guidance rather than, I think Dave brings up some great points about being overwhelmed by what's available, and that's why I thought this meeting would be really helpful, because I'd like to be able to hear from some folks about their experiences, but also kind of one-on-one, what do you think I should do once we see the schedule?
Yeah,
Chuck, that's an excellent point, and that would help you a lot. And you might make a nice list of questions for Spence and Ken and Rick, and just bring a list of those questions with you and throw it out to all of them at once. I don't have a decent bowl gouge. What would you buy? And then you'll be able to check and see in the manual if that company or what companies are going to be there to sell tools. So you don't have to buy anything there. You can go to Thompson Tools and talk to Thompson himself and just say, hey, let's make sure it's better than the next guy's. And you can go over to Carter and Sons. And if you do that, I recommend you talk to the kid, because he is one sharp dude. But you just go talk to the people there. I don't know if D-Way is going to be there or not, but Jimmy at D-Way Tools is a wealth of tool knowledge, and he's really a nice guy. And another tip, if you're Chuck, since you brought it up, if you're going there with the intent of purchasing tools, go put that early on your priority list and get to these guys, and don't wait till Sunday, or Saturday late afternoon, or get to them early and talk to them when they're fresh, because believe me, those guys wear out. Their energy level falls off, and their oftentimes patience falls off with it. So if you really intend to get some, if you're just browsing, browse right up till the last minute and ask them all the questions you can. But if you're intent on spending some money, then get there while their energy level is up. And don't tell any of them that I said that, but they change over the period of a day or over the period of 3 days.
I guess that is a question then, David. Is there better pricing at the symposium versus if I were to buy it afterwards?
Typically, and here's the thing that you need to consider: if you're flying, you're not going to carry on a bowl gouge. And if you're buying there, when I say talk to them early, I mean get into their brain and talk to them and understand what you want to buy. You don't necessarily have to buy it until Sunday at 10 o'clock. But you want to talk to them and get your information because they do wear down. And if I've rarely carried tools home because I just don't like to do that. And I rarely escaped without buying something. So I usually just buy it and have them send it to ship it. And most of them will do that. Spence?
Yeah, I have a comment based on my experience that might help, and particularly the new people. A day at for me, a day at the symposium is incredibly exhausting. Even when I'm not planning on doing anything, by the end of the day, I can hardly get one foot from the other. So I suggest that you really think about in detail the particular demos that you want to go to on all 3 days and mark them down. Now, when you're there, you may change your mind, but it's been my experience after the first day when I get back to the hotel, there's no way in the world. Let me qualify that. By the time I get into my room, I'm just done, and I'm not interested in thinking about things. Which brings me to another point. In the past, occasionally, what we've done, and I found it to be incredibly helpful, is that when and we did this in Portland last year, when there's a group of people that you know, if you can manage to get together directly after the symposium and sit down at a round table and go over the notes that you personally took during the day, you'll find out it's really helpful to the other people around the table. It turns out to be a very, very fun and informational session. I would have presumed, since we're going to be in a fairly close proximity and that hotel probably has some place where 8 or 10 people can meet, it might be a good idea.
That's an excellent idea, Spence. And there's also, you could, to make your evening go a little quicker. Is that round table? Do they serve all alcohol at that, or just certain ones?
Just sit around and compare notes, basically.
If you pick out a place at the symposium, and this year it's going to be really small. It's going to probably, I haven't seen it yet, but it's probably going to be 2/3 what it was last year, or half maybe. But there will be tables set up, and if you just get used to or send text to each other and rendezvous at a certain place and do some of this during the day. What Spence is saying is if he goes to see, Joe Blow and determines that it's an absolute crummy demonstration, then Chuck, you could learn from that and save your time, because you're not going to know Joe Blow from Adam. So, and if Spence says that the presentation was terrible, that would allow you to save that time, because you could check your schedule and say, oh, geez, I was going to go see him this afternoon. Do something different. But if he's a terrible demonstrator, I don't want to sit through that. So comparing notes like that's an excellent idea. And there's probably, and again, I haven't seen it yet, layout, but probably going to be tables where you can do that throughout on any of these break periods. So you may huddle for lunch and say, let's meet at the afternoon break session, and we'll meet at the so-and-so. And just pick a place to sit down and pick each other's brain all as you go. And for God's sakes, if you get to a demonstrator that really stumbles and doesn't have a clue what they're doing and so on, share that so that all of you don't waste your time. And we had one of those last year.
Spence, I think that's an outstanding suggestion. I hope we'll follow through with it, because like you were pointing out, I've taken notes during the demonstrations, gotten back to the hotel, dead tired at the end of the day. So I may or may not go back through my notes that evening, usually not. When I pick them up the next day, it's, what did I mean by that? I've
Why did
already
I write
lost
this?
some of that information. So having us all kind of get together, it'll fill in some of those blanks and also reinforce some of the key points that would be helpful to remember. I think we should try to plan on doing something like that during our symposium this year.
Chuck, the other thing I would recommend is when I go through the list of what's going on and who's doing the presentations, I always pick two. I pick the one I primarily want to go to. I'll go to that one. And if I don't like it or it's going in a way I'm not interested in, I'll leave and go to my backup one that I want to do. So always plan ahead for at least two per session, so you got an out.
That's good.
That's a good
And-
point because Chuck, you don't have to sit there for the full 90 minutes. If you are questioning whether or not you really want to see this particular demo, try to sit somewhere close to an aisle so you can get up and not disturb people too much. But there's nothing that ties you to your chair in the demos other than common courtesy to those around you. So if you get into a demo and in the first few minutes, first 5 minutes, you say, this is not for me, you can get up and leave.
The other part about that is, and I'm pretty sure it's since it's an AAW symposium, the audio visual is usually extremely good. So it's pretty hard to pick a bad seat in the room. So you can actually select anywhere you want. Occasionally there's going to be a demo or an individual personally that you really want to spend time with and really see some detail. So you get there a little early and get out a front row seat.
The other thing is recognize if you do get one of those coveted front row seats, be prepared to catch chips.
Yeah.
Bruce, they've got a pretty good system for deflecting those, but yes, you're correct.
What we did
Subs-
here was, when we went to a symposium, when it got, or when a demonstration, when it got over, we knew where we were going next. So we would go to that place, put our stuff on the chair in the front row, and then go do something else if you wanted to go to the vendors or something. So when you came back, your seat was saved.
That may be frowned upon, so just consider that. They may not allow it. Consider that.
Yeah, they did in Albany. That's what we did there.
Yeah, and it usually is frowned upon. The question is, how do they police it? And you may or may not be able to get away with it.
Right.
There goes a coyote right outside my window.
Where's your
Is he being snowed upon?
Yes, he is. It's snowed upon big time here. I have a suggestion too. One of the things that when you go to these symposiums, you're encouraged to maybe bring along something for the instant gallery and set it up so other turners can see it and you can see what other turners are doing. And at some point during the symposium, a pro turner will walk through the instant gallery and they will critique pieces. Not everything that's in there, but something will catch their eye and they'll say, okay, fine, oh, there's two of them. My gosh, they're together. And they'll critique pieces, and maybe a dozen or so, dozen and a half, people will just follow along and listen to what they have to say, ask questions about it. As a person whose interest is in design, I like to do this, like to see what the pros think of it. I don't know if you know who Jack Vessery is. He's a pro turner, and he has done the critiques previously. And it's a good way to get up and personal with what other people are doing without necessarily just channeling yourself to the maybe dozen or so turners that have something specific they want to tell you about, which will be more technical in nature. Like, I like to, hold my gouge at a 45-degree angle to make this cut, and you're writing this all down and stuff like that. But the symposium is a good way to see and meet other people. I've only been to a couple of them, Hartford and Pittsburgh. And I found that the first one that I went to, I was really obsessed with taking notes and taking pictures of the people that did things. And there was maybe 5 years between the first one and the second one. And in that time, I joined chat groups, and I found other people whose interests were the same as mine. And we weren't nearly as obsessed with going to demos as just kind of getting together and going through the instant gallery, going through the vendor area. And Dave, you said that last year you hardly got into any demonstrations at all, and there's a lot of ancillary things that happen that
A lot.
that you get to go to. The evening demonstrations, I've gone early enough to get to those, and have really enjoyed the up close and personal possibilities there. But a lot of people it's old home week. They go to a lot of the symposiums, and they look forward to seeing their friends from other people, and sitting around tipping a few back and stuff like that. And it is a social event as much as an educational event in a lot of ways.
And we're trying to make that even more so now. And everything Dick says is absolutely spot on. In fact, you've just covered about half of my demonstration to the club. The gallery thing, one of the things you guys can think about before you go there, where are you going with Rick? Get back to your seat. I'm gonna wait till he.
Go ahead. Right here.
Don't get up and walk out on me, okay? One of the things you guys want to kind of think about is, where do you want to go with your wood turning? Do you want to be exposed? Do you want to show your stuff so that, and if you're doing especially if you're doing something special, something you haven't seen before, something that not everybody out there is doing. If you want to be exposed a little bit, this is the place to do it. If you want to just sit back and be in the, behind the bushes, then this is the place you can do that also. And you can go and just go with the sole purpose of learning and seeing. But if you want to get your name, your face, your work out there a little bit, that's what's going to be part of my demonstration, my discussion with you guys, is to heavily take part in the instant gallery. And you're allowed to bring 3 pieces to show off. And part of that is when you bring your pieces into the instant gallery to set them up, then you place them, and your name, address, phone number, all that happy stuff is on there, and you can sell. You can either sell it, or you can just write on your little card that it's not for sale. But you can also request what Rick was talking about, that critique. You can request that a professional critique your work. Now, if it's your very first bowl and you obviously have turned it with the scraper and you've got it sitting there, it's probably not going to get critiqued. But if you've done a decent piece of work and you've requested a critique, then someone, Ellsworth, Beaver, those guys that are hanging around there will be scheduled to critique your work. And then also, as Dick said, and this is a separate part, those pros are strolling through the instant gallery. And even if you have not requested a critique, they will steal your piece, set it up, call you, or somebody will call you, and they will critique it for other purposes. They are always on the lookout. The AAW is on the lookout for new people that are doing something great and wonderful. So Chuck, you may have a piece that you take and put in instant gallery innocently, not knowing anything about what's going on, and you'll get a tap on the shoulder, and they'll say, "Hey, we'd like to talk to you about this." And that's, they actually select people to join. It's called POP, the Professional Outreach Program. They actually reach out and grab people and say, "Hey, we think you got potential." And then they will nurture that. They will help you get into demonstrations. They will schedule you probably for next year to demo at the symposium, which ain't a bad deal because you get your way paid to the symposium and put up in a nice hotel and all that good fun stuff. So when you go with the idea of, hey, I want to move my wood turning career forward and get acknowledged or get my name out in public, let's say. Or if you want to go and just say, hey, I'm not going to do any of this stuff. I don't want to, I want to stay behind the bushes. Either way, I would encourage anybody that wants to get their name out in public to take at least one piece and put it on display. And either just put it on display at the symposium, or put it on display and request a critique. And then there's another part of that, and you can take a piece, or if you know somebody in the club that wants to do this, but is not going to the symposium, then you can take a piece for them. Excuse me. You can take a piece for them, and they actually put it into a auction. So it's a silent auction. So people can walk by your piece and go, wow, look at this thing that this guy named Spencer put in here. Don't know Walt Spencer, but boy, is this a unique piece, and this is awesome. And they want to buy it. So right there, they put a price on it. I'll put $25 on it. And then somebody else comes along and says, whoa, this is worth a lot more than $25. I'm gonna bid $75. And a pro comes along and says, whoa, this guy's got all kinds of potential. And I don't know him from Adam because his picture, Walt, thank God, your picture's not there with it. It's just a name on the card. But somebody else walks by and says, wow, I want this piece. And they bid whatever. So the silent auction goes on all through the symposium. And then at the banquet, all of the silent auction items are set up at the banquet, and people can continue to vote, continue to sign up on the bid sheet. So maybe at the end of the night, that piece goes for big bucks for whatever reason, or maybe Maybe it started at $25 and went all the way to 60. And you never know. There's some that are they just go absolutely crazy. And I'd be scratching my head last year and going, now, why did Joe Blow's piece blow up like that in the silent auction? I mean, people were going crazy to get it. And you never know. So anyway, the silent auction, when you put your piece in and fill out the paperwork to do the silent auction, you give at least 50%. Well, you have a choice. You can either give 100% or 50% to AAW. If you give 50%, obviously you collect the other part of the bid, and that's yours. But that's a way AAW makes money to support. That's one of the ways to support the symposium. So any of you that could take a piece and display it and involve it in the silent auction, and especially if you're attending the banquet, because it's kind of it's a fun thing. And if Spence, if you had your piece in there and everybody at the table would be asking you, are you giving the AAW all 100%, or are you taking half of it? And somebody would find out, oh, he's taking half of it. By the way, which is private. Most people should not be able to know that. But if you, your people be raising all kinds of hell with you because you cheapskate, you're taking half of that money. You should have donated the whole thing. And there's just a lot of fun stuff that goes on related to that silent auction at the banquet. So if any of you can put a piece, have a piece to take for that purpose, that's a good purpose.
Chuck, there's two things I would recommend. One is plan to make a pass through the instant gallery more than once. For one thing, if you go originally, when it first starts up, other things get added to it as the show goes on. And to try and assume or absorb all of it on one trip through, I've never been able to do that. The other thing is there's a caveat to taking a piece to the convention. Ed Jones took a gorgeous piece called an Amobius strip. And I don't know how many of you know, but that's where you start on the surface and you take your finger and stay on that surface all the way around, and you end up back on the opposite side, going through a bunch of curves. Beautiful piece. No fault of AAW, but when he was done, he took it to UPS to have it shipped back. And when he got it back, it was a bunch of kindling pieces. It virtually got destroyed. He even had it insured the whole 9 yards, and they wouldn't stand good in the insurance claim. So if you take something and want to take it and bring it back, recognize, is that something that's going to survive the transition and the shipping back and forth?
And make sure you understand how to package it.
Yep.
And by the way, if you put anything in instant gallery, if you take a box and let's say you're using a bunch of whatever the real soft foam is, the polyethylene foam or whatever it is. And I get this from J. Paul Fennell, who's packed a ton of very, very, very fragile pieces, and he ships them all over the world. It's important to understand how to pack. And if you've got something as fragile as what Bruce is talking about that got broken, if you're going to send anything like that, get a hold of me and I'll get J. Paul to give some instructions.
The other thing I'd like to do, sorry. The other thing I'd like to,
that's very important. And you can keep your packing right with the stuff. You put your piece on the table, you put your packing underneath with your name on it, and you got all the foam and all the crap that you brought it with to take it home. I'm sorry, Bruce.
Okay. I'd like to take a little bit of a switch And those of us who have been to symposiums, what are some of the tools and things you've found and purchased as a result of going and seeing what was there?
Well, I've been to a couple of them and a couple of nationals. I was at two or three down in Mesa when they used to have the desert symposium that I miss a lot because they brought really good people in and it was just convenient and familiar. And I also go to a lot of the kinds of classes that Ken and Kathy have gone to up in Utah. And those aren't really symposiums, but I buy a lot more there than I do at the symposiums because it's easier to get back. One thing that one thing I'll mention though, before we get too far away from the banquet, a lot of times people treat the banquet as being kind of an add-on and they don't really think there's much benefit to go to it, especially if it's an additional cost. But I went to the banquet, and I think it was Pittsburgh, and I sat down at a table with a couple friends that I had been going to events with, and found that I was sitting across the table sharing dinner conversation with David Ellsworth and John Jordan and their spouses. And I thought, hey, this is really cool. I wouldn't ordinarily get a window into the thinking of the pros like this. But they aren't real intimidating when they're just trying to pick spinach out of their teeth.
They put their pants on just like we do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing, and they're wonderful to talk to.
The banquet I attended also included the auction. I really enjoyed watching the auction, even though I didn't buy anything. But it was fun to watch Mike Mahoney and Stuart Batty outbid each other on something. So when the price would go up, they'd up it a little bit more, and it was just fun to watch. So
Bruce, in answer to your question, my first symposium was a Utah Woodturning symposium, and I bought first time I'd ever heard of it, an M42 metal bull gouge. And along with having never heard of that before and then having it available there was at that symposium a metallurgical talk, which if any of them are available at this symposium, go see the metallurgy involved in what's underneath all these tools. Why would M42 be better than just a soft carbon steel? And they got into the micrographs. They really explained a lot of the reasoning behind the different alloys they've used. It's very educational to get that piece of the tool information too. I don't know if any of them will be there at the AAW symposium in Portland, but I think the tool vendors might be able to fill in some of that also. It's good information to have. But I walked home with a new gouge there and saw a lot of other tools I would like to have come home with. So I'm sure you'll see it the same way at this one.
Did you just walk home with it, or did you pay for it?
It was shipped to me.
Mhm.
Oh, I take that back. That was from Craft Supply, and I'd driven there, so I picked it up later. They had to go back to the store and bring it in, I think, the next day. So that too is a good reason to make sure you check with the vendors early. They may or may not have stock on hand, which may or may not be a problem here because it might be easier to have them just ship it to you.
I've found that, I like talking to the guys. I like picking out the stuff. I love D-Way tools, and I hope they're gonna be there. But I love going through at the symposium and identifying what I want. And I will typically, even if they've got 150 of them in front of me, I'll typically have them ship it to me. Because I just don't like the hassle. I don't like checking stuff on an airplane, and you cannot carry any of that kind of thing on.
The other thing I know that's occurred, I think it was last year when we went to Oregon, several of the people, it wasn't expensive items, but all of a sudden we found a mesh sanding paper that performed just as well as a more expensive brand. And the guy had it there, you could pick it up, and that you could carry on easily on the airplane.
Right.
Or the other thing was he ran out of it. He ended up shipping it to us at no extra cost and still got the show price.
The
So-
sandpaper you're talking about, that was Woodturners Wonders that had the 2-inch open weave disc.
Right.
I picked up a package of that, which had several different grits in it, and I have to be honest, it's good sandpaper. I like using it, but it's still not quite as good as Abernet. Abernet is my favorite go-to sandpaper, but it was a pretty good deal though, to pick that up and use it. So I would buy it again just because of the price, and I just have to replace the disc more frequently than I would with Abernet. So, and Ken Reza, the owner, or I don't know if he's owner or just
He's it, period.
is he? Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was there and talked to him for a while. A great guy. And so I've also bought CBN wheels from Woodturners Wonders too. So
And
I
he
think-
always comes with a huge stock of CBN.
yeah,
And
has some good
they're-
stuff there.
he usually has some pretty good symposium deals.
That's where I got my CBN wheels from him at that deal last year.
Mark,
Okay.
I also sandpaper, and I echo exactly what you said. It works fine, but it wears out quite quickly.
I'll
Yeah.
throw my third vote in on the same experience.
Yeah. And would I buy it again? Yes, I would. But Abernet's still my favorite. So do with that information whatever you may, So there it is.
If you're interested in following up a little further on what Ken was saying about the metallurgical properties of the tools that you're interested in, the guy who has done a very good review of that is Alan Lacer, the Skewmeister, who I think you know, Spence, because he also is the guy who's primarily interested in having everybody buy his SKUs. But I think he has a YouTube demonstration, and he's probably got some in the AAW back issues of all the metallurgical studies that he's done. A good guy too. I bought my lathe from him.
You should, all of you that go, whether you're interested in a SKU or not, stop by Alan Lacer's booth, because he's an old timer and he is brilliant, and he's probably the biggest master of the SKU that's still alive. So he's just an interesting person and especially if you see him at the booth and he's relaxed and sitting back with nothing to do, just go BS with him, because he's an excellent conversation. About anything, doesn't have to be about a SKU.
Dave, do they still do, and I don't know about nationals, but in Utah, they used to have special deals on the equipment after the show, but you had to be prepared to haul it out of there. Does that go on at the national level?
Things have changed a lot. And if we're talking about regional symposiums, you'll notice that all of the lathes are brought there by a club. So in other words, if there was going to be a regional symposium in Arizona, Prescott area would bring their big jet lathe for a demonstration room. AAW in the past several years has those demonstration room lathes have always been supplied by Powermatic. Powermatic has, and in the past, Powermatic has done a ton for AAW. They've given a bucket load of a truckload of lathes to AAW to do as they wish. Part of them have gone into a grant program, which, well, part of them in the past have gone into a grant program. Part of them in the past have been given away to youth, to kids that attend the symposium. Part of them are sold at a discount to a registered, well, it doesn't have to be registered, to a person that goes to the vendor area and says, hey, I want that lathe, how much is it? And they'll say, well, in the old days, they would say, well, that's a $5,000 lathe, we'll sell it to you for $3,500 if you come back on Sunday and pick it up, and it's your responsibility to get it home. They also have always given, for a long time, have also given a lathe to be raffled off by the local clubs. And they used to give two, and full size 3520, and then typically a jet MIDI or something like that. They have, Powermatic has changed ownership, changed management, changed toilet paper. We really don't know what the situation is this year. And last year, it came up to the 11th hour before we really knew what was going to happen. So we're still don't know. But my guess is they have, like I said, they have always had a huge, they buy like 6 booth spaces and combine them all into one, and they'll have a half a dozen lathes and bandsaws and all kinds of stuff. So they typically have like a lead item where, let's say they've got 3 different models of Powermatic lathes, or maybe 3 Powermatics and a jet or whatever. And they, in the past, they have said, okay, they bring one as a lead item and they'll discount the heck out of it. And if you're lucky enough to be there, and if that's something you're looking for, and you know that it costs exactly $2,800, and you get there and they've got it for 22, you can tell them right then and there, I want it, and you basically buy it, but you leave it there till Sunday for them to sell. I mean, to use as a sales pitch. This year, there's just a lot of stuff going on that I can't speak to yet, so I don't know what is going to happen. But I know there's going to be vendors that will not be there because of location. They're just too far away to ship in a bunch of lathes because it costs so much for shipping. It costs so, everything has changed immensely since COVID. So AAW has a lot of scrambling to do right now to try to figure out how to continue and how to go about business because of the changes in the environment and in the business environment. But I would guess if Powermatic comes, they will have deals. There's also the possibility that other manufacturers will be there and will have deals just so they don't have to take the lathe home. They do not want to pack those things around, believe me. And it costs a lot of money to ship. And there's all kinds of issues at the symposiums with how to handle them, who moves them around, who does this, who does that. So it's not easy for them anymore. And they need to either not come or figure out a way to get through it and still make money. And that's changed a lot in the last, since before COVID. And then, of course, the symposium or two after COVID, a lot of people just didn't want to be out in public, just didn't want to be around a lot of other people. So lots of things have changed, and I frankly am kind of interested to see what happens in Portland because it's going to be different. Don't know how and don't know what all and how it's going to wash out, but I'm anxious to see it.
Dave, different topic. When we took our last class at Craft Supplies, we became friends with another Turner who is going to be there and is a very strong proponent of the Women in Turning program. I know you've had some involvement in that in the past. Do you know what that part of the program, what do they do at the symposium for the Women in Turning? I don't know if you call it a group or what, but anyway, the program, what do you know about that?
They typically, way too much, and I prefer not to speak to it, but they definitely have a time, and I'm looking on last year's schedule and I don't see it, but they typically meet during one of the lunch hours. And if you watch Women in Turning on the website, they should publicize that so that everybody has a chance to attend. But they have a Women in Turning meeting typically during a noon hour and encourage women to get involved, encourage women and men to get involved. Now I got volunteered to start a Women in Turnings for the Phoenix Club. And as I used to say at Prescott meetings, there's two ways to get things done, and you can either ask for volunteers or you can draft people. Well, I got drafted in Phoenix to start a Women in Turning group, and I did. I spent couple of years with organizing, having monthly meetings, teaching, training. I really enjoyed it, but it was difficult to get to keep participation. And this was when gas prices were going sky high and the Phoenix area huge. And I had members from Cottonwood, the West Valley in Phoenix, which was 40 miles from our training site. And my concept was to start the organization. I was asked to do it. I was going to start the Women in Turning group, get it functioning, and then turn it over to one of the women that chose to join it. And I had a rough time handing it off. One of the people that probably should have been running it, should have been the forerunner and should have taken it over, got deathly ill. She almost died. And then obviously had a recoup period where she didn't participate at all. A second person lived too far away. She was 40 some miles from the meeting place and just didn't want to commit to have to be there. I handed it off, and the first thing they did was decide it was too far to travel to attend meetings. So they basically put it on hold last summer because of the heat, which I thought was the totally backwards decision, because when it's too hot at people's house to
What do
turn.
you think? Do you think I should call and see if I could get my procedure done next week when I already have an appointment?
I don't know, it's supposed to stop in.
Dick?
You have 1.5 inches or so out there, 'cause I was.
Anyway, the group is kind of on hold right now. I'm not sure what they're doing. And I would heavily encourage it. I think there's enough interest in the Prescott Club. I would heavily encourage it. Go to the women interning meetings or gatherings there and meet these people. And Kathy, if you're interested, remind me when we're there. If I get some time, I'll take you around to the people, or you can look up their names and just talk to them. Walk up and talk to them. They love it. And get involved.
Well, thanks for letting me know. Are there other topics that you needed to cover? It's almost 10:30. I have to do
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah, I know.
now,
I was thinking, is anything else anybody wants to bring up? We've been going for a while here.
Yeah, time to
I
go.
mean, I don't want to shut it off, but I just thanks for the comment.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to the meeting, Dave, when you learn a little more and can get us a little more enlightened.
We've covered half of it today.
Good.
Good.
So,
Well, let us know when you're ready and we'll schedule it, okay?
Okay, will do. Talk to you, Rick.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And what's the preference? In somebody's home or before a regular meeting?
I'm leaning towards before a regular meeting. I think we have the facilities to put it up on the screen and where everybody will be able to see it, but we can work those details out. I'll get with Ken and see what he thinks will work best. But when you get your information together, let me know and we'll set it up.
If
Okay,
you're wanting to use any of the audio visual equipment, I would suggest after one of our regular meetings.
Okay.
Setting up special before creates a time conflict with arranging the equipment.
I agree, Ken. That'll be good. And we can work those details out as we go down the road. Dave, thanks for all your input today too. I really appreciate it.
Ken,
Thank
could
you.
you repeat that? I didn't understand if you say it'd be better after or not as good after.
It would be better to not be before a meeting, a regular monthly meeting. If you're going to use the audio visual equipment, we need time to set that up and make
Okay.
sure we're connected to Zoom and do all of those details for the meeting purpose.
Right,
If we
okay.
have to do something else with the equipment beforehand, it creates a conflict. But we could actually leave it all set up and simply use it right after the meeting. And it would take a little bit longer time to take down equipment, but we also might catch a few more people who might be interested in the topic. Just be better right after a regular monthly meeting.
Okay. And I am prepared to do it like in your shop, Rick.
Okay.
All I need is a HDMI hookup to a TV that people can all see.
And we have that here. So if that works better, we can do that as well.
And chairs for them to sit in.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have that too. Last time everybody had to see. That's good. I'm good. Get going then, guys. Thanks so much.
yep.
Thanks again for
everybody
hosting,
joining.
Bruce.
Thanks, everybody.
See you all.